Hello, everybody. So my name is Francesco Fontana. I'm connected from Italy, and I thank you very much for the invitation to this important event. I will try in my presentation to report about the latest, say, the state of the art of the international activities, especially about the normative point of view, both from the legal point of view and from the technical point of view. And so just to, I would like to quickly to mention the international institutions where I am involved. That's International Geosynthetic Society, is the cultural society organizing the international conferences with more than 4,000 members around the world, 170 corporate members. Next event will be hopefully pandemic letting us to do it. It will be in the EuroGeo conference in Warsaw, September next year. And on the 2023, the World Conference will be held in Rome. So you're invited both to present papers and to attend. Another international institution working on this kind of things is the European Association of Geosynthetic Manufacturers, which is the association of companies which are in competition one to each other, but with a common goal to promote the correct use of geosynthetics, of course. I go quickly through the normative organization. So there is ISO, is the International Organization for Standardization. At the moment, 158 countries are belong to this organization and recognize the standards. And the CEN, the European Normative Committee, which is, it is important to notice that it is not a part of the European Union, but it is an independent organization associating the local normative, the national normative institutions of each country. So it is wider than the European Union, because not only the 27 European countries, but also other 7 European countries, including the fresh independent UK and okay, the countries you can see in the slide. So within the CEN, there is the development of the so-called harmonized standards. So the European Commission, so in this case a European institution, gave the mandate to the CEN to develop a number of standards divided by application, so to establish all the topics like terminology, sampling, identification, test methods, requirements related to the intended use. And so far has been developed 17 harmonized standards, 11 on geotextile and 6 about geobarriers. Of course, there are many other harmonized standards about other construction products, because the scheme is the same for any construction product. And this discipline is intended to be connected with the free circulation of goods, because so this is with the goal to avoid local different regulations that would prevent the free circulation of goods. And for this reason, the public administrations all around the Union cannot skip the harmonized standards. And the free circulation of goods is determined by the Article 28 of the European Union Treaty, and so recognizing that the same rules are necessary, are the necessary base for a common market. and the standards are necessary to enable the free trade, and especially for the transparency of public bids, the competition should be transparent, and also enabling in this way to reduce the cost for public works. So the whole matter is regulated by at the moment by the construction product regulation dated 2011, but I have to mention also the previous act, which is the Construction Products Directive. You know that the directive is something the Union tells to the countries, though the regulation is a law immediately valid in all countries. But as a matter of fact, the harmonized standards has been developed under the previous discipline, so before 2011, and so this we will see is creating some problems to front. The main difference from the content point of view from the regulation to the previous discipline, the directive, is the insertion of a seventh basic requirement, which is sustainable use of natural resources. When the directive has been released in 1989, it was the environmental issues were not at the top of the priorities of the market and of the administrations and of the governments, and so the environment was just named at the third point together with hygiene and health, but in the regulation it's been included this important point about sustainable use of natural resources. Back to the harmonized standards. So they are compulsory, and there is also a sentence from the European Court of Justice, which is giving to harmonized standards the same level of law. So they have the force of law, and so they are compulsory for all works where the public money is involved. What does it mean? It means that the administrations cannot specify something different from what it is written in harmonized standards from one side, and from the other side, from the, say, suppliers' point of view, they cannot circulate products if they don't provide the properties, the characteristics of the named as essential requirements by the harmonized standards. So it is a double phase normative. And okay, for geosynthetics, the frame is set in the mandates, especially in the mandate 107 on 1993. So you see it's quite old. And this has, again, some consequences. So in the harmonized standards, the functions are determined, the applications and the essential properties in relation with the function and the application. So, as I told already, public administration cannot ask for more than what is written there, and suppliers cannot provide less than what it is stated in the harmonized standards. So, for example, you have here the functions, so drainage, separation, protection, filtration, reinforcement. You cannot invent a sixth function, and for each function and each application. For example, about railways, this the harmonized standards 13250, and there you will find which are the basic requirements a product has to provide, not in terms of performance, but in terms of declaring the performance. I was mentioning that some of these documents are quite old, especially the mandate. So the mandate is older than the CPR. It means that the harmonized standards have been developed under the previous directive, and so the sustainability matters are not included in the harmonized standards. And as I was mentioning, the harmonized standards has the strength of law for the harmonized standards, but this is implying unfortunately a juridical problem, because in 2012 a new regulation came for the standardization regulation, and so say the lawyers are still disputing if it is possible to update or not the harmonized standards, because having a strength of law, they should go through the parliament. So I don't open this door of the juridical matters, but just want you to know why there are some problems, because at the end the market needs an update on environmental aspects. It is a very strong demand for that. So what the European Union is trying to do, it has been to prepare a set of priority with a program in 34 steps, but the geosynthetics are only on the 29th position, and this will make it very, very difficult to have say a normative innovation from the legal point of view in the next 2 or 3 years. It will take unfortunately probably more. So the risk is there to create again a bit of a difficult situation with different rules in different countries, because at the same time the Green Deal launched at the end of 2019, and with the action plan of March 2020, is requesting the countries to implement standards about environment. So it's a bit of a paradox where it's not possible to release new rules, but at the same time the national governments are asked to take actions for the Green Deal and the green public procurement. What to do? So the CEN decided to go ahead with independent standards with technical value only, so not after the mandate of the European Commission, but just to develop standards, so to have a common, to be say on the same page in each country around Europe. But what I have to highlight is that in the meantime, the public administration, or wherever public money is involved, they cannot legally ask for properties not listed in the harmonized standards. This is something to take in a very strict account. So from the technical point of view, the proposal on the paper, on the table, are to go for functional economy. So look for performances rather than descriptions and this has implication also on the environmental assessment, so that to go not by weight, not simply looking or setting rules where recycling recycled stuff has a priority, because recycling is not a value by itself, but it's only in relation with the environmental performance of the work. So that, for example, building a railway or a road, it should take into account the impact of the unit of product, of the kilometer or whatever you want to take, not going product by product to make a special rule, which at the end could end in the not to the best final performance, environmental performance of the work. So from the technical point of view, it will go in the direction of not to go for the physical unit, so not looking for what's the environmental impact of the kilogram of a geotextile. I say geotextile, but it could be any other product, pipes, concrete, whatever construction product you use. You should not go just for the weight, but for the environmental cost of or impact of a functional unit, for example, a kilonewton per meter of tensile strength or so on. So in the CEN is a structure in different working groups where so far nobody from Latvia has taken part, but of course everybody is invited through the national normative committee. It's possible to access, and not only and give a contribution also to the production of the rules. So back to the certification system. What's the situation at the moment? This is set on the Annex 5 of the CPR, and you need a declaration of performance for each product. The manufacturer has to state all the descriptive documentation of the product as to demonstrate factory production control and the possibility to test the samples. But in the declaration of performance, you cannot declare or state anything more than what it is asked by the rule. This is a point which sometimes is not very clear, because the DOP, it is a document for safety. So it is the minimum requirement you are, as a manufacturer, you are requested to release to the market to have the right to sell your product. So there is a notified body checking all the things, and if the DOP is correct. So what's the difference with the technical sheet? The technical sheet is a voluntary declaration from the manufacturer. So over what it is obligatory requested in the declaration of performance, it is possible to declare other properties. Once you declare other properties and they are accepted by say the buyer, then the technical sheet turns into a contractual document between the parties. So the DOP is a safety document, so that the final user is not using in a not proper way the product, because in the DOP, let me show one. You see that there are listed there is the list of the harmonized standards. So, for example, for railways, you have the harmonized standard 13250, and in this application, geotextiles are or this product is something you can propose for filtration and separation. So, for example, not for reinforcement. And so that the final customer and the designer and the engineer, they have to know what's the purpose to which the product has been produced, and it has been proposed to the market. So you see, for example, here in the declared performances, you don't see the thickness, because thickness is not a performance. It is a description. Even the weight is not a performance. It is a description. But in a technical sheet, you can see that it is included also the thickness and the array mass. This is say voluntary, but in specifying a product for railways, for example, the specifier could not include this, but should stay just to what it is established in the essential properties. This is including also the somehow some environmental aspect, if we consider it, for example, the life cycle of service, which I have heard, I have read rather than heard in a previous presentation, that for railways in Latvia is requested 100 years of durability for the work, and this is declared in the DOP, because it is obligatory to declare if it is for 5, 25, 50 or 100 years. depending on the results you have on your test. So I hope it is, because sometimes the difference between technical sheet and declaration of performance is not very clear. So declaration of performance is setting the minimum requirements for a product to be on the market on one side, and the maximum you can ask as a specifier for a public work. So I have here the example of 13249, which is the one for roads. So you see that you have as essential properties to declare, and so maximum things to require in the specification: tensile strength, elongation, static puncture resistance, dynamic puncture resistance, filter diameter, water permeability, durability, as I have mentioned earlier. So I don't know if I'm taking too much time, Gunita, but I just want to mention that there is a circular economy target group, which is a structure of CEN and CENELEC, recently established to coordinate all initiatives and assist any normative body about the rules on environment. I don't want to forget to skip an important thing, which is what about the construction products not included in the CE harmonized standards, because there are. So, for example, erosion control, you don't have an harmonized standards. So in this case, the manufacturers has the faculty to ask for a special CE marking, which is not coming through the harmonized standards, but is coming through IOTA, which is another organism. Is not the normative organism. IOTA is European Organization for Technical Assessment, and after a certain quite long procedure, they can release a CE marking for the products called ITA, European Technical Assessment, which is still, when you see a ITA, it means that this product is not regulated by the harmonized standards, but it has been a kind of voluntary CE certification from the manufacturer. So I just want to mention that there are 150 initiatives detected by this committee around Europe. They are by far too many. And so it is really necessary to set a standardization, and of course, everybody is invited to take part and say a word. So not just to wait for somebody else to do the things, but participate. I could tell you something about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals connected with geosynthetics. Geosynthetics are quite effective. I can just summarize in a number that the average saving of CO2 emissions, CO2 equivalent emissions, is compared to the traditional technologies in construction, whatever it is, landfills, railways, walls, roads, is in the term of 75%. Whoever is interested in having access to the papers showing what I am stating, it will be welcome that I can provide connection papers and any information anybody could be interested to have. So I didn't look to the timer, Gunita, but I hope I have been able to stay.
All is okay. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, then.